What is gravy, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, welcome to the channel. It's lovely to have you. Today we are of course talking about Horizon Forbidden West. I know, so original, Pete. But I, like I'm sure many of you, have been playing this game non-stop over the weekend, and so I wanted to take you through my first impressions after a not insignificant amount of time. Before we get into the video though, I do just want to mention there will be no spoilers here whatsoever. All of the footage you're going to see is from the opening section of the game, so about the first 2 hours. And all I ask is that you leave any spoilery comments somewhere else. Everyone deserves to experience this game for the first time by themselves, so be nice. Oh, one more thing. I should mention I'm playing the PS5 version of the game, so all of my experiences are for that version. Okay, now we're good to go. Right, so straight away, you do not need me to sit here and tell you how good this game looks. I mean, you can go to any video on YouTube and see that for yourself. But I can't not mention how much detail is in every little part of this game. The animals that run around, the environment, and of course the machines themselves all look spectacular in every sense of the word. And while graphical quality's never been too high on my priority list, it does add that extra little bit of immersion. Which brings me to the world itself. Granted, it's been several years since I played Horizon Zero Dawn, but the world that this sequel takes place in just feels so much more alive than I remember. Every settlement is full of people just trying to live their lives. The outside world has events that remind you you're not the only person that's trying to survive in this landscape. And each character you meet along the way has genuine struggles and hopes that really do make you want to help them. And the vistas, oh my days. Sometimes I don't even realise that I've spent 5 whole minutes just staring at the screen, not wanting to move because the view is just that good. Thank God for photo mode, right? Now, in a running theme with this game, the new machines also improve on what came before. For the most part, playing through Horizon Zero Dawn, I felt pretty comfortable just sticking to turret arrows and bombs, and that was it. But I'm already finding that I'm having to utilise the enemy weaknesses in this game a lot more. It feels like even regular machines can take you out with no issues if you're not careful. And I love that, because it provides weight to every encounter in a way that I don't feel the original one quite managed to do. On top of this, the designs are just incredible. Granted, I haven't seen them all, but the ones that I have seen make me seriously excited to go out and find the rest. Each time a new one comes into view, I find myself genuinely taking a minute to just watch and see how they behave, and again, that's not something I really did in the first game. Okay, in terms of gameplay, there are many things that are going to feel very familiar to you if you've played through the first game. Ranged combat, for example, hasn't seen any big departures outside of the types of weapons you'll acquire. I mean, why fix what isn't broken? But equally, there are many things that will feel fresh in this game. They've been talked about so much already, but the changes to melee combat and the climbing are such welcome improvements that make these aspects feel weighty and more realistic. Climbing is a big thing that people didn't particularly like in Zero Dawn because it felt rather by the numbers, but what they've done here is open it up to allow for a lot more freedom. The closest comparison I can think of is probably Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because for all of that game's flaws, the climbing in it was pretty good. You could essentially climb whatever you could see, and while that's not necessarily the case here, it's still a vast improvement over the first game. Melee combat has also seen significant improvements, with the additions of unlockable combos and special moves adding some much needed variety. Again, one problem with the first game was just how bog standard it felt fighting the human enemies. But now you can pull off some really stylish moves that make Aloy and you feel like an absolute badass. When I played through Zero Dawn, I did so very much as a stealthy archer. I know, I'm sorry too. But now I find myself actively getting into the fray and using the spear up close, and that's not something I really expected. While we're on the subject of unlocking skills, the skill tree in Horizon Forbidden West has seen a much needed overhaul. In the last game, it felt pretty bare bones to me. Like, there wasn't much variety in what you could do. But in this game, there are now 6 skill trees related to different playstyles. For example, melee, hunter, stealth, trapper, and each one has about 20 to 30 different skills that you can unlock, ranging from active skills like special trick shots with your bow, all the way to passive skills like increased health for overridden machines. So while each of these skills won't appeal to every single player, they do allow for a wider range of builds right from the get-go. In fact, overall the menu system just feels cleaner and more organised, with each section being easier to navigate. My only gripe, if you can call it that, is that I would prefer a better way to organise the gear mods. So currently it's either by rarity or by type, coils and weaves. Whereas in my opinion I feel it would be useful to be able to organise by damage type, so all of your fire ones together, all of your critical hit ones together, but I'm really just nitpicking at this point. It's also worth mentioning that there are tons of customization options for you in this game, whether you're looking for accessibility options or want to minimise the HUD for a more immersive experience. Horizon's got you covered. Of course, there are people far more qualified to talk about this than me, so if that's something you're concerned about, I highly recommend going looking it up online, as I'm sure there are detailed breakdowns on the topic. Now, people are going to get annoyed because how dare I criticise this game, but no matter how much I love it, we have to talk about it. It being bugs. I've seen a few things online of people talking about their experiences, and while I've had by no means the worst experience, I have seen a few and I wanted to share them with you. For me, the one thing I've run into the most is people or machines missing textures. I fought a Thunderjaw yesterday, and at the start half of it was invisible because it just hadn't loaded in properly. But I've also experienced Aloy clipping through parts of the wall as she climbs, random black screens that happen during transitional events, one time I wasn't even leaving a room, and so far I've had one crash. I know other people have had it worse, but so far this is all I've really had, just minor glitches. This is all going to get taken as me saying it's garbage, isn't it? So it needs to be said that for 99% of my playtime, the game has run incredibly well with no issues. The load times are virtually non-existent, and I've had no problems with frame rate or resolution whatsoever. Right, so I'm not going to say much. In fact, I'm barely going to say anything. All I will say is this game does such a good job of picking up where the last one left off, expanding upon it, and taking us deeper into everything about the world and the old ones. So far, I'm hooked. And that's all you're getting. Sorry. Well, I can't forget about trophies, can I? It's the basis for most of my content. Now, I will of course be doing a full platinum experience on the game once I've finished it, but at this point I've got 29 out of the 59 total trophies, and I'm absolutely loving it. The list feels, as with the rest of the game, like just an improvement over the original one. And I'm not going to go into details now because I want to save all that for the full video, but I am very excited to get this platinum. So overall, I have loved every second of my time so far. Horizon Forbidden West does what every good sequel should do, in that it builds on the foundation laid by its predecessor, both mechanically and narratively. Yes, there are issues, as with every game, but I'm pretty confident that Guerrilla are actively working through these, so I'm not worried. In my opinion, what the team has done here is phenomenal, and I cannot wait to continue through and see Aloy reach the end once again. Well, there you are, my initial impressions after a weekend with Horizon Forbidden West. I'd like to reiterate, no spoilers in the comments, please, it's just not fair on everyone else. However, do let me know if you've picked this game up and how you're finding it. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, it does help me out a ton. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. Make sure you don't miss that platinum experience when it drops, and I shall catch you all next time. Okay, I'm done. Time to fight more Close Riders.